Into another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast, where the tears are always flowing and the wrestlers are always hoeing. I had no way of making that work. I accepted that was a terrible idea. I'm your host, Chad Porto. There are no trains on this show. There are no trains on this show, Marcus. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how are you?
Good, man. It's going to be a packed show. Should be fun.
So packed, we're doing Impact and Lucha Underground reviews tomorrow because we got SummerSlam to talk about. We're going to briefly talk about NXT because everyone's losing. We're going to talk about the end of Full Sail, Nick Khan, Tony Khan, Billy Corgan doing the con. I don't know. There's all kinds of things coming up on the show. Billy Corgan's not doing a con unless you've been watching NWA, in which case you might be like, that's some terrible booking, in which case, yeah, maybe fair. All I'm saying is if Trevor Murdoch doesn't win the NWA World's Championship and I spend $40 on this stupid two-night event, I'm going to be mad. I'm repping Trevor Murdoch. I am declaring him worth my money. Do not fuck with me right now, Billy. I ain't going to stand for it. Let's talk about sitting, though. Cross-leg sitting. As kids used to say, I shouldn't say it. It's an inappropriate term, but was a style. you sit cross-legged style. There we go. Let's stick with that. Marcus, the worst kept secret in wrestling history, finally came true on Friday night, as one Siamicus Amicus Punkicus. That's his given name. That's his Catholic name. Finally returned to pro wrestling after apparently 15 years, which I guess was a bit of a shock to everyone. 16 years. Apologies, I can't count. Marcus, CM Punk is back in wrestling. We'll get into the nitty-gritty and all the ups and downs of it because we've had time to kind of sit on it. I like how we do our show. We're kind of like, what's that dude on HBO? He used to be on The Daily Show. He's British. Something Oliver. It's like last week's news tonight or something like that. That's kind of how we do wrestling. We allow time to pass when we cover these stories, so we can kind of give you a unemotional take on it. So, Marcus, what's your whole thought on CM Punk, Chick Magnet Punk, returning to wrestling?
No, man, not gonna lie. Like you said, man, it was the worst kept secret. You kind of, it wasn't a matter if, it was a matter of when. It finally happened. I didn't watch it live. I really wasn't too hyped for it. But then I went back and I watched it, and it was, I said this on the True Finish show. It was awe-inspiring. It was something to see. I likened it. Like, when that music hit, and it was great to hear it again. I like that Culture Personality song. When he came out, man, to say that crowd erupted is putting it severely mild, man. Like, that Chicago crowd showed up, exactly how you would imagine it if anybody, dreams of being a superstar or whatever. Like, I liken it to Triple H's 2002 MSG return when The Rock came back to host Mania, and when Ziggler cashed in that Money in the Bank in 2013. You just don't hear organic pops like that.
Especially if you're watching SummerSlam.
Yeah, exactly. No lie. There were no lies detected. But yeah, man, it was something to see, and it was even more of a great moment. Not just you saw that got that passion from the audience. He genuinely felt like a kid that just got a standing ovation from a bunch of other kids. Man, it was great to see. Like, he really got emotional. So it was a moment. Like, even if you weren't a wrestling fan, you had to feel that.
It was, I think, and I went back and rewatched some of the biggest pops. I have to imagine that if it's not the loudest pop in pro wrestling history, at least in North America, then it's among the top three. I watched the Dean Malenko Cyclope moment. I watched the Triple H 2002 return. I watched them all, Marcus. There wasn't one that matched the level of authenticity, sincerity, and decibel-breaking loudness that was that reaction. And there were people talking about how the arena was shaking from the sounds that the fan base were producing. And I thought it was so silly, so damn silly. When Becky Lynch returned at SummerSlam, and everyone's like, no, that's a pop. And I went back and listened to the Becky Lynch return. I'm like, what? No one cares. Now, I think part of the issue with SummerSlam is that arena is terrible for acoustics, so maybe you didn't get a real authentic, experience if you're watching at home, but that's just the case. I think if you put those 18,000 screaming Chicagoans, denizens of the city of Chicago, in any other stadium, with or without a roof, I think they're still just as loud. I think the reaction is still just as palpable. I think it's still just as obvious.
No, I'm right there with you. And not to take away anything from Becky Lynch, that company has trained people not to trust their numbers or their pops, because they have proven that they falsify pops.
Yep, they do pumping crowd noise. They falsify attendance numbers. They are duplicitous in their outings and how they handle wrestling and wrestling fans. So, take the WWE as a cobra. Yeah, it's there, but you don't want to trust. You don't want to put your faith in that cobra not biting you. So just stay away from it. Just stay away, because it's going to bite you. Whether you think it won't, it will. Believe me, it'll bite you. Now, obviously, CM Punk's return, huge, and rightfully so. First off, let's talk about what he said. He talked about how he's happy to be back. Now, he didn't mention any companies by name, but he's only wrestled in 3 major promotions. We can put, or 2 major promotions, soon to be a third. We can put dots to dots. 4, actually. He wrestled in Impact. I forgot about that. He said that when he left Ring of Honor in 2005, he felt like he was leaving the wrestling business, and that he's been gone from the wrestling business since 2005. He talked about how he was never going to get healthy while in the WWE, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And that was one of those things that we all knew. Like, he's not the first one to talk about that. He's not the last one to talk about it. And the company is kind of known for its grinding style to the point where people lose their passion for the industry in that place. I think CM Punk got a lot of fans pissed off because, like, how dare you talk about the WWE that way? They made you. But in actuality, one, they didn't, because he was a pretty big star heading into WWE in 2005. Secondly, I think people need to realize that just because you like something doesn't invalidate someone's opinions on it. And, like, that was a big thing that I kept seeing. Like, despite decades of people going, working in the WWE was the worst experience of my life, they beat the joy out of me. I was glad to leave. Despite all these stories existing, ad nauseum for decades, people still think that they're just bitter. I say it all the time. One person calls you a jerk, they're a jerk. If 2 people calls you a jerk, they're a jerk. If 3 people call you a jerk, you're probably a jerk. And WWE has dozens, if not hundreds, of people who have gone out on record saying that Vince McMahon's a terrible boss, the company doesn't, treat people with respect, and that they've been, basically abused being in that company and couldn't leave fast enough. So it's one of those things where I think fans need to realize that CM Punk's opinions aren't opinions, they're facts, because he's telling you exactly how it was. And if you don't like the fact that the WWE treats people like that, and I think that's ultimately where people come from, is whenever you hear, like, well, so-and-so did something, it's not that you don't believe they did it, it's that you don't want to believe they did it, because you have so much associated with that brand or person or their work or whatever it is. So you double down on the no, you're lying idea. But me, I can exist in a realm where, yeah, fucking Chloe from Smallville is a terrible person, but that show's still fire. I'm still going to watch.
One of a character. Weird turn of events in real life. Wish her the best, man. If she, learn the error of ways, it's going to be, probably even a longer road to get back than it was to, go down. That's usually how it goes. But, yeah, we can call a thing a thing. I think a lot of people don't want to, and it really comes down to accountability.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times personal accountability on a lot of stuff, because, again, it's not that people don't know. It's that they don't want to know. Like I said, a lot of times when we see stuff in the media, it's not necessarily what people know, is what, like, these big wigs and whatever have you can make them think at the time, because it's easy to go along with a narrative and follow along with, the new hotness or whatever. But, this whole thing with Punk, like, his mom made him. Okay? Like WWE just provided a platform to him to do what he was going to always do in some form or fashion. Now, obviously, their platform is the biggest for him to do that on. But again, I think that, to your point, is them, being ultimately mad about something he did that made them feel away, and them using that as an excuse to take away credit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a thing. But I mean, look, man, people can say what they want to. I don't even know how you could continue to try to give that company credit when this is the same company. The man was damn near on death's door, and they was feeding him Z packs. He was champion, and he was champion on shows that were ended with John Cena and John Laurinaitis. he was
It's remarkable.
he was damn near cut off at the knees from getting on the cover of a video game that he had more than every right to be on the cover of. And they sent him his termination papers on his goddamn wedding day. So
This is not a good company, man.
what are you doing defending him? Just say you didn't want him. His personal decisions pissed you off, and I really like the fact that he made that distinction before he said. And it's hard to sum up a 7-year absence, but saying that I was never going to get healthy staying in a place that got me sick in the first place is an all-time bar
Yeah.
because it's not pertaining to what he was talking about. So, I just think a lot of fans just are always in the mood to be butthurt anyway, if Twitter is any indication, which we're going to get to that when it comes to the certain part of this reaction that he got. So, yeah, it sucks, man. But, I give him kudos because he actually genuinely looked healthy and happy.
He looked happy. He knew he was going to get a loving reaction. So he probably bought about 20 grand worth of ice cream.
Ugh.
Now, Marcus, when he said that I bought you guys ice cream, I thought he just like, Ruggles or whatever ice cream. I'm like, all right, that's cool, I didn't realize he actually manufactured a label of his logo and stuck it on, chocolate covered ice cream ice cream bars. It's like, all right, that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, because he could have just did the real thing of like the freaking Bluebell cups and
Yeah.
just handing them out, man. But he knew fans wanted that, and kudos to AEW because they could have charged for it and they would have made a killing, but they made it as a thing to get gave out for the fans. And unfortunately, as some fans will do, apparently there were people digging in the trash to collect the rappers so they could hustle them on eBay. Yeah, so
Fans are gross. I feel like Dante from the Clerks. Man, this job would be great if it wasn't for all the fucking fans. Actually, I think that was Randall who said that. My bad. Anyway, so the other big thing was that they had a shirt. It broke all sorts of records. That's not the only records that were broken. Holy God. So, I think this was a tweet from Pro Wrestling Tees said, in less than 72 hours, CM Punk has the highest selling design ever on Pro Wrestling Tees. The record was previously held by the Bone Soldier Bullet Club shirt for the last 7 years. So I don't know if they're saying that in 72 hours, the Bone Club Club shirt, the Bone Soldier Bullet Club shirt, topped it. So like the CM Punk shirt, I think Marcus sold more designs in just 72 hours than the entire 7-year run of the Bullet Club Bone Soldier shirt design. I think that's what they're saying.
That might not sound like a big deal, but we got to realize like Bullet Club became like almost a pop culture thing. Pretty much because of how big it got. I mean, I don't even think a lot of like it got to the point where non-wrestling fans were just wearing the shirt because it was that cool.
Back when Hot Topic was hot, they were selling it.
Yeah, man, that's not a small thing at all. It just superseded anybody's expectations. So I mean, to say that, I mean, again, it's been a 7-year wait, and I mean, this obviously proves, like I said, people have been salivating for a long time with it, and like it wasn't. I think because of how good of a return it was, that also helped. Like had it been something like that was severely underwhelming, I don't know how it would have did. But people, it's a marking event. Like this is gonna, for a lot of people, go down as a moment in wrestling history. So, that's big, man. That's big.
The other news that broke, according to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, The TNT score for AEW Rampage, I thought they were on TBS. Oh well, was a 1.129 million viewers, up 52.7% from the week before. And in key demos, they're up 76.6% to a 0.53 in the 18 to 49 key demo. Now, one thing I want to be very clear: 1.129 million viewers may not seem like a lot. This is for a Friday night 10 p.m. time slot. Marcus, do you know the nickname they give this time slot on network TV?
Death.
Yeah, the death slot. No, I'm not kidding. You're right. It's called the death slot. When Supernatural was entering its 7th season or 6th season, they moved it to, they don't do 10 p.m. shows. They moved it to Friday night at 9 p.m., which was the kill slot. That's the time slot that you put shows in to basically say you're coming here to die. And fans were so appalled by the maneuver, they flocked to CW on Friday nights to watch Supernatural to the point where they reestablished Supernatural as the franchise flagship show, and it lasted another, what was it, another 8 years, I think? 9 years? Yeah. So for AEW to do this on a Friday night at 10 p.m., I almost have to wonder why Tony Khan didn't do this to start AEW's, not start AEW's, but to start, what's the name of their other show? You can tell how much I watch this product. Dynamite. Yeah. If you would put this on Dynamite, this gets you 2 million viewers. The return, Marcus, had 1 million views on YouTube 4 hours later.
Look, man, I mean, honestly, it really was. I mean, other stuff happened on the show, but they could have milked that entrance for that entire hour. Mm-hmm. Really, I mean, whole return for that entire hour, if we're being honest. But I get it. You're trying to establish this show. I'm thankful as a wrestling fan who we're gonna go off into long shows in a minute. But I'm thankful for the fact that it's an hour. You get in, you get what you need, you get out. You already got a 2-hour show. You already having, maybe 3-hour pay-per-views. Every so often during the month. And you just kind of need to use this to get other talents and other feuds out there. And Punk was a big thing, specifically now that you go find out that you're going to be spreading him out now. So he really helped establish Dynamite. But I get you exactly what you said. That would have put Dynamite just 100% over the top. It also doesn't hurt that they're almost making themselves a palate cleanser to SmackDown. Mm-hmm. That's basically before what happened at SummerSlam, which we're going to talk about, was a 1-segment show for 2 hours. Like, it was okay. Like, what's going on with Reigns this week? That's about it. So,
So the show currently, not the show, the segment on YouTube, on AEW's official YouTube account, has 5.7 million views in just 2 days. It's now 10th all time on AEW videos, and here's what's above it. Jericho versus Orange Cassidy, when they faced off for the first time. Moxley coming back with an eye patch. Mike Tyson staring down Jericho. The Inner Circle beating up Moxley. The anniversary of AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite episode number 8, Hangman Page and MJF when the first ever Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal. Orange Cassidy trying to take on Pac at Revolution. Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley doing their death battle. And then an online exclusive of Cody versus a kid dressed as Orange Cassidy. That has 35 million views, but that was posted a year ago. All of these were posted a year ago, and CM Punk's video is already 9th all time in views for AEW's official channel. Just kind of give you an idea. In 2 days, 2.5 days. The most recent video near him was Sting's 8 months ago at 4 million views. And then right after that is the 10 bell salute for Brody Lee at 3.7 million. So just that's what you're looking at. That's the kind of impact that he's had, no pun intended. It's a big day. And it made some people feel some emotion. CM Punk himself was crying. He had tears. And it's not the first time we've seen a wrestler cry. Shawn Michaels cried. Ric Flair cried. I cried watching Hulk Hogan many a times. Paul Heyman cried at One Night Stand. Pretty sure Sandman sexually assaulted someone at One Night Stand. Just saying. You can't just stick your face in someone's tits and drink beer. Like,
yeah, like I said, to see him on that entrance round when he kneeled down, like you could visibly see him. And shout out to the camera guy because glad he caught it. But it was genuine to see. I think he caught him off guard because he never came off like a super over emotional guy. And for a long time, I can understand why fans took deference to him in a way because, obviously he was rightfully so carrying a lot of that toxic energy that he had to take off that company for so long, and he had to shake that off. Like I said, he really almost died in that, and they were pumping him with goddamn Z-Packs. So, I think, he got a lot of that negative energy off, and he came back, and it was just like, they really F with me. Like, they really, because Triple H said when he went back behind the curtain in 2002, he bawled like a baby because he thought when he came back, they were going to have forgotten about it, which is a fear a lot of people get when in the business when they get injured because it's so many people you can just turn out in a new spot. So,
I think it was Scott Hall who said that one of the big reasons why he drove so high into addiction or so low into addiction is because he was trying to find a way to replace the rush that he got when he came out of the curtain. That was either him or Jake Roberts. I can't remember which one, but I'm pretty sure it was Hall. Anyway, so it was an emotional night for everyone. Fans popped, wrestlers popped, numbers popped, sales popped. It was great. One dude got caught on camera with some tears in his eyes. Now, Ric Flair once stood with a tear in my eye, and he got called a legend for it. This poor dude got caught with a tear in his eye and got made fun of for it. Now, I want to put something out there that it needs to be said. It's not cool to laugh at people for having honest emotions. It's kind of a dick move. Now, if you're privy to us on Twitter, NERDCORP, I got into it with a couple clowns on Twitter on Saturday, I think it was. And I basically said, laughing at someone for having an honest reaction, whether it's pro wrestling or not, is kind of a dick move. And I want to be clear, I believe that, and it's something I've always believed. I really can't understand why people would make fun of someone for being so overwhelmed with emotions that that's how they express themselves. That, to me, shows me that you have the ability to connect beyond just the superficial. Like, only sociopaths don't have those types of emotions. Now, you may not watch that scene and go, oh, well, I'm not going to cry. I mean, I don't get it. But you might also watch Field of Dreams, and when Kevin Costner tells his ghost dad, hey, you want to have a catch, you might bawl like a baby. I do. Maybe it's the Jersey scene in Rudy. For me, it was the scene in Rudy where he gets accepted into Notre Dame for the first time. That's when I was like, oh, Rudy, you did it. You did it, buddy. But it might be something. Maybe it's a child's laugh or a sunrise or seeing a Nazi dressed up as a clown getting kicked in the nuts. I'd laugh so hard I'd cry. But it's something, and usually people will have a reaction, and it's okay. Now, I don't get why it's like, oh, yeah, I like wrestling, but I don't like it that much. What a weirdo. Like, who does that? Who does that? That's so dumb.
People who are severely emotionally unavailable because they, didn't get love like that, or, they disassociate with it because they view it as a weakness. They've been taught that. Or they just a-holes in general. But I'm glad this kind of happened because this prompted one of your best tweets ever. I've cried at movies and TV shows all the time. Field of Dreams, every fourth episode of My Hero, 100% on the money. It's okay to be in touch with your emotions. In fact, it makes you better. It allows you to be able to handle other people in a manner that benefits everyone. Empathy is not a weakness.
He's not.
Dad Portal special right there. Like, look, man, that scene and freaking, I mean, we can go off a whole hour listing off stuff, but that scene in Jack Frost when Michael Keaton turns back from the snowman into Michael Keaton. And like sing me a song, Jack. Like every time you sing, I cry a little. Like come on, man. Like that whole little last part get me every time. The freaking last part of Homeward Bound every time.
Oh
Like
God, every time. And like
like
the dad just goes to his son, it's okay. He was old, or the son said it to his dad, like he just couldn't make it back. I'm like, oh my God, no! And he's in the mud pit. He's like 5 feet away. Go save him. And then he comes back. I'm like, oh my God!
oh, man, like you said, every fourth thing I know, every fourth episode of My Hero. I mean, this Endeavor arc, man, Jesus.
Yeah.
Um, come on, man. The freaking the thumbs up at the end, of Sandlot between Benny and Smalls.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. Like you got to have a soul, man. You got to connect with stuff. That various points for me and Chad throughout Remember the Titans. Like it's,
Like every 6th minute.
it's like, come on, man. Like you got to. And maybe it's because a lot of these people don't associate anything real with wrestling because they can't get past the whole predetermined nature of it. But come on, man. Like you can't crap on people. Like the other tweet that you retweeted. That got the Punk guy, the Miz girl, the Undertaker guy. I'm gonna go with the this is gonna be weird, but I'm gonna go with that plush AJ Styles doll and the Claire Lynch gimmick because I just feel like it was an emotional time for that thing.
I cried. for various different reasons, but I cried during that angle.
Yeah, like come on, man. It's a real thing, and it's so rare because how many things have we seen done to death?
Yeah.
Who pops for a Canadian Destroyer anymore? Come on, like not even Pete Williams. So it's like it's so many things, and unless somebody legitimately dies, unfortunately, you're not really getting that emotional. So it was a really cool moment. The fact that I'm really glad that actual wrestlers came to the defense of that guy because it's a real thing, and I can imagine what it looked like backstage when and a lot of those guys was watching that happen. So.
And like that's kind of the thing, on Twitter, and that's kind of the thing that people need to realize. When you see something trending in the 60s or 70,000s, keep in mind that the country is 300 million deep. That ain't even 1% of the country talking about something. It ain't that impressive. So when I see people on Twitter going, well, social media, social media wrestling fans, like, you're like 0.5%. Shut up. Stop being so damn cynical. You ain't that smart, kid. And with the whole thing with these wrestling fans online, Marcus, the thing that I always see is cynicism. And part of that goes with the fact that the wrestlers that these individuals idolized 10, 15 years ago would make fun of fans for being marks.
Yeah.
Because the term mark is not a wrestling term. It's a con term. When you want a mark, you're looking for someone that you can dupe. Now, if I'm selling, icicles to people in igloos, I'm looking for a mark. Someone who's going to believe that my ice is better than the ice he can break off the side of his house. That's a mark. And they use that term in wrestling to try to con people into buying into the product. The product from that terminology in the 50s, 60s, and 70s has radically changed to now. We know it's not real. But we're still here because it's fun. It's dumb, goofy-ass, stupid fun. We love it. If you can't get invested in characters, now granted, if you're watching the WWE and you're like, I can't get invested in this, homie, that's bad writing, we know. Watch something else. But watching other forms of wrestling will show you that it's just like any other form of entertainment. If you allow yourself to get caught up in the universe, and the universe is well constructed, you can get sucked into it. So watching Tommy Dreamer and Punk and all these other guys, say like, we want fans like that, should tell you just how wrong-headed you've been in your life to think that that's quote-unquote funny. And another thing I want to take note of. The people I was talking about, like, oh, you probably made fun of the NWA, it's still real to me, damn it, guy. I don't even know if I ever did, truthfully, because I never found it funny. I'm sure I've said it's still real to me because it's a catchy phrase and it means a lot to that man, and it means a lot to a lot of fans too because it is still real to us. When we watch these characters, like it's still real. When I was watching Goldberg Lashley, I knew Goldberg wasn't really hurt. I knew his knee was fine, but I'm like, damn it, get up, come on, Bill. You 53, he's 45. You're the same age bracket. Come on, you should be losing.
Man, anybody that's watched New Japan and seen any Suzuki or Tomohiro Ishii match, that's all you can actually say about the match.
Just ow. Just ow. Stop. It hurts. I'm watching it and it hurts. Fucking Minoru and Ishii, oh God. But it's one of those ideas, like, it's somehow frowned upon to be a fan, and I don't get that. The other thing I want to point out is with the NWA guy, I've never made fun of that because I don't find memes like that funny. You can look through my Twitter lineup if you want. The only memes I ever seem to enjoy are the ones that are, like, fictional. Like, I love me that Bobby Hill Hank Hill meme that I made up with the, Bobby, do you know how to start a man's heart with a down power line? And then, like, you show, like, the 6 sides of electricity from 07's lockdown. And then Hank Hill goes, well, there's no wrong way to do it. That's fucking funny, man. That's funny. But, like, taking real photos of people and laughing at them, I never understood why that's funny. I was never an edgelord like that. Like, I'm just like, man, that ain't cool. But, I don't know. Some people are born wrong.
My dad always told me it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile.
Mm-hmm.
He always told me that when I got mad about something. And it used to piss me off, but he was right. And it's just like, summing up that point that you were making, because you weren't just talking about wrestling, you were talking about music, sports, whatever. Like, we just went through talking about, I would cry, anime, real movies, live action, all that. Like, that scene of the episode after Paul came from Smallville where Clark has to watch that tape on the TV and Clark's like, bye-bye. I mean, Paul Kent's like, bye-bye. And they put the camera on him and he has that watch on his hand. Every time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. Every time. But, like, we talking about people who actually have, like, a real mental disconnect to where they associate showing a depth of emotion like that as being calmed.
It makes no sense to me, Marcus. Like, these are the same people that scream at you for revealing fucking not Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones spoilers. Oh, don't ruin it. But then it's like, oh no, the wrestling show, I'm gonna make fun of that. Like, what? You spend 8 years of your life watching a 4'11" blonde chick burn down an oceanside resort. But you can't let people have their very healthy, comparatively to real combat sports alternative. You can't let them have that? Like, Now, granted, I got mad at people posting spoilers too, but I'm also getting mad at people for having emotion, so I feel like I don't qualify in that distinction. Like, you are me, but you're stopping halfway short. Like, I don't know. Marcus, some people, man, I choose not to associate with those types. If you can't watch Power Rangers the movie and get sad when Zordon's about to die, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. I don't know what you've been taught or what you're teaching others.
I'll be turned into popcorn because
that was hilarious. If you don't laugh at Ivan Ooze, like, I don't know, man. Nazi.
Come on, baby.
I don't not see what you're doing.
You don't laugh at them dumbass tangas.
It's more like a whirling sound.
More like nails on a chalkboard. You just don't see devil of a witch.
Do you want us to go get her?
You want us to take another whack at it?
Oh, that's her. Whack. What did he say when he exploded them? Do you remember?
No, I forgot. Dang it, I forgot what he said.
It was something like, take a whack at this or bye bye bird, or it was some one line nonsense. I loved it. It was great. Ivan Ooze.
Shout out to that actor for God. I can only imagine the hell he had to go through with all those prosthetics, man.
That's a hell only one person that we know of will probably ever know.
Oh yes. Shout out to Doug Jones.
Yup. So to the AEW dude, I dig you. I wish I had a moment like that in wrestling. I do have an alternative moment. I never cried over wrestling. That doesn't mean I haven't been grossly enthralled with it. My big moment was when I was dating a girl at the time, and we were like getting there, but I also knew that it was December 31st, and it was 2005, and they were going to announce that Sting was signing with TNA. I paused the proceedings for a moment to watch the announcement, and then I went back to doing my thing.
Yes.
Listen, vagina is around forever. Sting's return to pro wrestling happened once at that point. I didn't realize it'd be a reoccurring seasonal trend.
That's an all-time story.
I want to be clear. I did go back. Things still progressed. But I did take a 10-minute respite. And the best part was she's like, all right, is it done? And I'm like, oh, are you? And she goes, do you want me to be? I'm like, no. I was what was I, 19, 20? I was like, no, I'm good. I think I was 19. Yeah. So, like, sex was very fun for me at the time. I was young and spry, and now I'm old and not so spry.
Young and I could take breaks like that.
Right? And now I'm 34, turning 35 in 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks, and I'm like, whew, it's 80. It's sweltering today. Gonna call it a half day in the yard. You've been out for 12 minutes and you mowed half the lawn. I know. Gonna have to come back to this tomorrow. I got to do that tomorrow, actually. I got to mow the lawn. We had some rain and it's growing. I'm just like, Speaking of let's talk about SummerSlam. So let's go through the positives real fast. It ended.
No, he's not wrong. It was 5 hours.
Yeah.
Just start. Well, you watch all back to back. If they drop The Boys season 3 right now, whatever, you watch all of that. That's different. That's engaging.
Yeah. Now, listen. I'll watch 12 hours of the OC back to back. But the WWE has not been that enthralling for such a long time for me to watch it for 2 hours straight, let alone 5, let alone 12. So some real conversational pluses on this. I like the setup. Yeah. I like the minimalistic setup of like the entrance and how it was kind of like the Royal Rumble entrance from a few years ago. That was dope. I dug that. I don't like the big LCD screens that they use. I've always hated those. I think they started using those in 2008, and I've never liked them. So like that, I could be good with that. The music, for some reason, had a very distinct and noticeable ambiance to it, especially during the Alexa Bliss entrance. I had not heard her music for God knows how long. So, like, listening to that whole, like, intro and, like, the dun, 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 and, like, the way the acoustics carried, I was like, that's dope. I'll give him that. It was not a great match. I won't lie and say that it was, but I thoroughly enjoyed the Lashley Goldberg match. It told a story. And I kind of figured out what's wrong with Goldberg. Like we've been talking about like for years, like, Goldberg has lost the step. Why has he lost the step? His hip and knee is fucked. Like, you can tell when he walks. Like, he doesn't have the same gait anymore, the same stride. He doesn't have it. I don't know if he can, have that fixed or not, but yeah, that's why his leg strength is shot. When he hurt Taker and when he kind of struggled to get some guys over the jackhammer, that's why. So much that is leg strength, and he's got some issues with his leg, and it's pretty abundantly clear. He's still mobile for a dude who's 54 and has been doing contact sports most of his life. But if you were to tell me that he needed to undergo a knee surgery or a hip replacement or something like that, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he might want to hit up DDP, man, and get into that yoga.
Yeah.
Because that's a real thing. You need to be loose, man. The older you get, we need to start, investing in different stretches and different exercises. Because Yeah, his offense is so power based. That's really why he relies so heavily on that spear. Something easy and quick to do, and he really
Mm-hmm.
can just ram that big ass head into your sternum and get it over with. But yeah, I thought it was funny though, like when MVP hit him in the back of the leg, he almost forgot to sell it.
Yeah. I think MVP forgot because as you watch, Goldberg was standing there, and he was standing there, and the ref turned around, and he's still standing there, and he's still standing there, and then he finally walked forward, and that's when MVP hit him, and you could tell Goldberg was like, you could just tell he was staring at MVP like, you were late on your cue. And then he grabbed his leg, like almost like in utter defiance of MVP, and he dropped, and he's just staring a death hole through MVP as he's like, "You missed your cue," and he's just like holding his knee. That's fucking hilarious. Ah. And also, I love the ending with as Ollie Davis calls him, Sunberg.
Oh, shout out to Ali, man.
He's
Uh,
great. Sunberg jumped on the back of Lashley, and Lashley didn't know who it was, so he put him in the master lock or whatever Lashley's calling it. If he's not
MVP,
calling it the Lashley lock, then what are you doing with your life? Like, come on, it's right
yeah,
there.
yeah, the blurby lock, but shout out to MVP's been brilliant. It's like, ooh, that was not a random white boy. Ooh,
Marcus,
like,
racist.
our bad. You basically turned it all true. Our bad. That's on us. Didn't know. You kind of a punk father for getting your son jumped like that, but it's fine. We out of here. Come on, we leaving. Ooh, that's not gonna wear off soon. That was hilarious.
Now,
Uh,
there's speculation that's leading up to the Saudi Arabia rematch in October, and listen, I feel like that one epic rap battles of history where it was like Obama versus Romney, and the guy's like, I want to like you. Stop talking about changing and do it. That's kind of how I feel about Goldberg whenever I see a title change about to happen. I want to like it, but then I realize all the hundreds and thousands of people that died to build Saudi Arabia, and Goldberg's just there chilling. Like,
oh, dude,
Billy, come on, man.
last time y'all went, y'all damn near get home. We're in the middle of the phase 2 of this cluster F,
Phase two of
and
the boss battle that is COVID.
exactly to the point where my summer plans in the Delta variant is legitimate trending meme. Uh, yeah, yeah, my summer plans is all might the Delta variant is all for one. Um, and you think it's a good idea to go to Saudi? Like I just it's goddamn ridiculous. But again, what else would you expect? Yeah, but the Goldberg thing was that was funny, man. That was damn funny.
I'm looking forward to whatever that produces, as long as it's on non-Saudi soil. I just saw a video about how bad Saudi Arabia is. Apparently, there's a lot of immigrants in Saudi Arabia that are basically working for unlivable wages and aren't allowed to go back to their home countries. Cause the rich people need to have their amenities.
No, man, I don't know if you have seen that video where all them Afghanistans were jumping on that plane as it was taking off.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
man. Like somebody held on long enough to get up in the air and fell to their deaths. It's like, yo, what in the F got to be going on that it would be worth that?
It kind of makes you think that the next time you're stuck in traffic, things absolutely could be worse. Think about that. As
Yeah,
bad as
man.
things might be,
Yeah, man.
they can always get worse. Speaking of worse, let's talk about SummerSlam because oh my god,
Ah.
it brings out the John Travolta-ness in me. Oh my god.
At least they had the good sense to put Corbin on the pre-show.
Yeah, but in doing so, they put Big E on the pre-show, the Big Show. Oh god, I'm sorry, Big E. So basically, Big E defeats Baron Corbin and wins back his briefcase, and I'm like, all right, so here's how it's gonna go: Goldberg beats Lashley, Big E beats Goldberg. When Lashley won, I was double disappointed because, like, all right, Goldberg gets another title, cool. Then he loses to Big E, and Big E gets his run, cool. And then neither of that happens, and I'm like, oh, all right.
Again, if we're booking it, he beat the dog piss out of your best friends for months. That should be the only target he's going at. It does two things. It gets him against a viable opponent. That's a match we haven't, fresh match that we haven't seen, which
Mm-hmm.
is already nowadays. and it seemingly reunites New Day.
Yeah. But here's the
So
problem that you're not factoring into it. That would mean two black dudes fighting for the WWE Championship, and Vince already has a problem with one dude doing it at a time, so. Having two? Marcus, you trying to kill the man?
what was I thinking?
He's clutching onto his clan robes. Come on. Linda, where are my robes? The silk ones are in. Not the silk ones, the white cotton ones. Oh, you're wearing them. Oh. Then he puts the little hood on, but it kind of crooks off to the left a little bit.
What about the new ones I ordered? I had to put them in the cleaner. Something happened on the transit. Like, oh, damn it, I need something. Get me my ECW fit. Oh, God.
I like that Zack Ryder wore that shit. That was great. Zack Ryder dressed up as Vince McMahon for the latest GCW show.
You gotta pray for that kid because those people really do not like it.
Nope.
It's not a real thing. It's a real thing.
Because GCW is filled with psychopaths. Speaking of psychopaths, the RK Bro, the apex sexual predators with an apostrophe. No, a single S, not apostrophe. Apostrophe is possession. A single S is plural.
That gets so different now because he's with Riddle.
Yep. The apex sexual predators defeated AJ Styles and the Almost community.
Almost community. Oh.
AJ Styles might be another man that doesn't want to see Biggie and Lashley going for the title. I'm just saying. I'm just like you. I don't want to say AJ Styles doesn't like minorities because I don't know if that's true. But if you were to tell me that AJ is basically Stone Cold from The Longest Yard, I wouldn't disbelieve you. If AJ Styles has ever said unironically, now that's how a white man plays guitar, I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'm saying.
God, I almost want to see a sequel so they could put AJ in that spot, but it'll ruin his bone.
Well, yeah, it would completely ruin the whole immersion because you believe it. Like Stone Cold seems like a dude who will have a drink with anyone. AJ Styles seems like he would have a drink with no one because he'll always find a reason to be mad. And that's why I'll never really be too hard up on Road Dogg because he's never been that kind of dude. He might be a Trump guy for all I know, but he's always shown to be a little bit more inclusive in his ideology. So,
yeah.
So I can dig that. Plus, he hung out with Billy Gunn, and you got to be pretty goddamn talented to deal with Monty Sop, Kip Sop. What a name. Oh, his mother did not love him. Speaking of parents that children that weren't loved by their parents, RK Bro won. And it just makes me not want to watch Raw or SmackDown ever again. So, like, that's cool. Alexa Bliss defeated Eva Marie, and Eva Marie lost twice because she lost the Doudrop because she quit on her. And then Alexa Bliss is a face now, and the doll is like a big point of merchandise, and it's not even that interesting of a doll. Like, Alexa Bliss, what happened to you? You used to be one of my favorite parts of SmackDown. Now you're something I avoid.
She like Big Show, man. She does whatever they ask, and she, does it to the peak of her ability. But it's like I can't wait for her to be asked about that. Somebody be like, "How did it feel knowing you legitimately just took somebody else's gimmick and were told to run with it?" You know, because we wanted to run it into the ground with him, but we let him go, so we'll do it with you.
She's not even just running with someone else's gimmick. She's running with someone else's gimmick while being sexualized as someone dressing up as a toddler.
Yeah, that too.
Like, that's the part that really hits. Like, she wears, like, overalls and, like, she swings on a swing set. And, like, it's not cute when you're 30.
Yeah.
Especially when people, do things to themselves while watching you. No, that's not her fault.
Yeah.
But that's the company needing to realize, like, maybe we don't do this. Like, who is it? I feel like you right now because, like, I'm confusing all the blonde white chicks.
Well, it's kind of easy. She is a blonde of a blonde. You talking about the ones that got attacked?
No, I think it's Mandy Rose. Was she the one in love with Lana?
No,
or was that Liv Morgan?
Not Mandy. That was she came out.
Liv Morgan.
Lana, yeah, Liv Morgan. Okay. Yeah.
Liv Morgan did that whole vignette where she's like naked in a bathtub and like wearing a white cotton robe. She's not pretending to be a toddler, so that's fine to be sexual in that situation. But when like you see her like Bliss in the pigtails and like the doll and she's clutching it and she's acting like a little kid and
You
Ew.
know, it's funny because in that bikini lingerie era with Tori Wilson and Victoria and Sable and all those guys,
No
Don,
one was doubting their ages.
yeah, the Don Marie. But it's like we didn't get what we got with Mandy and Sonya Deville in real life in that era.
Yeah.
So you would think they would be more careful after that happened to be a little bit more or less like it baffles me, man. But like you said, it's as long as something's selling, it don't matter. But I can only imagine what she gets in her inboxes on the daily.
Oh. I feel bad for Alexa Bliss. Like, I genuinely don't have any ill will towards her. I genuinely think she's one of the better performers on the brand. She's not
Yeah.
a great wrestler, but she's good enough. Like, she's like what I like to call the Mr. Anderson type. You're not watching
Hmm.
Alexa Bliss for her matches, but you don't need to always watch them for their matches. You ever see a Jake Roberts match? Not that entertaining. But his promos, oh, I'll watch anything after that. And I always kind of felt like that's who Alexa Bliss was. She's very entertaining, but now she's a fetish puppet for whoever's writing this show, and I don't understand why. It's just wrong. So wrong. Damian Priest, your dude, defeated Sheamus in what I heard was a good match. This was I actually slept through this match. I didn't mean to. I tweeted that out. Like, I wasn't trying to be funny. I didn't realize how long I was asleep for either. I woke up, I'm like, something happened. And I found out that Damian Priest won the U.S. title. And I was like, oh, the ugliest belt in the company. Fair enough. The Usos defeated Rey Mysterio and Dominic. I think I also slept through this one at least a bit. Kind of sucks that the WWE don't really care about the Usos kind of being problem child, but like whatever. It's fine. This company lets everyone get away with everything. Randy Orton, Matt Riddle, the Usos.
It just sucks, man, because I love those guys, but I cringe at myself attempting to root for them in any way now.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
'cause- yeah,
it's how I felt in '09 when Kurt Angle was still in his perk angle, but he was having some real fucking issues, and like I think '09 was when he was arrested for stalking Raka Khan,
yeah,
allegedly. He claims he was
yeah.
just in a nearby coffee shop. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But he was going through a lot of shit during that time. So
Yeah, I still laugh at it. I hate laughing at it, but it just like perk angle is just it just will never not be kind of funny. But yeah, he's another one. Him, Hardy, like, and you want to root for these people. It's like, dude, but how can you be in your own way this much?
yeah,
Like, it's bad. So with the Uso, like, I don't know what they're doing with the whole Mysterio Dominic thing. I don't know if they're trying to turn Dominic heel on Ray. I hope they don't go that route, but you can't predict this damn booking. Apparently they tried to turn Cross into a Mystic Knight tonight. So
I thought he looked more like Lord Tensai.
yeah, I got to go back and look at it, but I'm like, Jesus, y'all took Scarlett away for this. For this?
She doesn't pop the ratings, brother.
Jesus Christ. Like it's getting to the point where somebody like Scarlett ain't enough of Vince no more. Okay.
Well,
Good
it's hard for him to pop anything at this point.
Yeah, this is true, and that clearly might not be Khan's brand of female. So who knows? I don't know, but yeah,
Speaking of Khan's brand of female, Becky Lynch comes back, defeats Bianca Belair in 27 seconds. We all knew it was going to be a heel turn because she literally cheated to win. And I'm sitting there going, Firstly, no one popped when she came out, which was hilarious. The second thing that I thought was interesting was they did it to the one person no one wanted to see lose in such a manner. That doesn't make us hate Becky. That makes us hate your booking. So it's counterintuitive. And they don't realize that.
no, they don't, and now that's synonymous, right opposite of Kofi's 7 seconds with Lesnar, because officially the match lasted 6, apparently. Um, and it you had this girl come in, win the Rumble, win at Mania, against arguably your best women's wrestler in the company, and you seemingly have her underperforming this booking as a champion because she's trying this this babyface thing where she really thrives as a heel. Maybe that's what they're trying to get back to. But if you do it wrong, it's not going to go well anyway. Because if you start wrong, you're going to finish wrong. But the fact, I mean, they threw Carmella, they threw her under the bus too. Because you had her come out there, get slaughtered, and then, and I, and they started this horrible trend too, specifically with SmackDown people, and it's not even debatable with the Reigns thing as good as he's, been in terms of the character stuff, because obviously we'll talk about the ratings later. But he came back, asserted himself in a match, took the title. Cena asserted himself in a damn contract signing and took a title match. And she just came back and made a match. Tell me what Sonya Deville and that bald guy's there for?
Can't. Don't know. Sure is worth a question, though. So they're going to do a heel turn Becky Lynch. Fine. Whatever. Let's see. Well, I had a story somewhere. Did I? Nope. Okay.
Supposed to be facing Sasha, but something happened. So.
Yeah, we'll get to the Sasha part here after the review. All right. Drew defeated Jinder Mahal. Squashed him. Whatever. Charlotte Flair defeated Nikki and Rhea Ripley by submission, and now Charlotte Flair's already in a different feud, so fuck Rhea Ripley, I guess. Fuck Nikki Cross, I guess. Like, whatever. I think Charlotte Flair's going to feud with Alexa Bliss now. So that's a thing. Edge defeated Seth Rollins by submission after coming out to his old Brood theme, getting zero reaction. And I know this because when his other theme started, it did pop. So, maybe don't try to do a deep cut from 22 years ago. Like, think about it. That's how long ago the Brood was. The Brood lasted for like 6 months in 1999. It wasn't exactly the longest reigning idea of a group. And of the three of them, the two dudes who actually wore different styles of clothes, Christian and Gangrel, are no longer in the company. Edge just came out in the same gear he would wear 3 years later. That's it. Only he had a black coat in 2002 as opposed to 1999. We already talked about Lashley defeating Goldberg. Gorg. Fucking Wrestle Talk just cracks me the fuck up. Every morning I wake up, it's the first thing I do. I watch that show. And then Reigns defeated John Cena in a lackluster match where they could only figure out how to do 1,000 different variants of kicking out of finishers. And then Brock Lesnar came back with a top knot.
And smiling, which is always scary.
Right? That's horrifying. So, yeah, that was SummerSlam. I give it a D-. Because at least I got to see Gorg and Sunberg. Watch Wrestle Talk. They're great. Marcus, any thoughts on SummerSlam before we move on to Sasha Banks?
No, it sucked.
So Sasha Banks was supposed to wrestle at SummerSlam against Becky Lynch. However, Mike Johnson of PW Insider is reporting that she is not cleared and it is not an injury issue. Uh-oh. The people at Fightful Select reported that Banks was not medically cleared to compete at the show, but WB hopes that she'll be able to compete sooner rather than later. Johnson also notes of PW Insider, also notes that Banks' absence from the Go Home episode of SmackDown was a fairly last-minute situation, as segments of the show were rewritten once it was clear that Banks would be unable to appear. Additionally, Johnson offered some information about Lynch's victory in a remarkable short match over Blair. He states that the manner of this win was done in effort to pop the fans in the wake of Banks' absence. This decision was reportedly Vince McMahon's call, and Lynch won the title in order to make it a spectacular moment. Finally, Johnson also wrote that the idea behind Lynch's quick victory was entirely about her. It wasn't a reflection on Blair. Though some in the company saw the event at SummerSlam as taking the wind out of her sails, a black woman was beaten by a white chick named Lynch. Just kind of putting that one out there, folks. I know it's not, it's not Becky's fault. She's not, I'm sure she doesn't hate people who are black. I'm just saying that, if you're gonna have the white chick beat the black chick, maybe don't do it in 28 seconds, and just kind of make her look bad.
You know how poignant that is, and the fact that I'm not the one who said it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it as much like you ruined that entire girl's whole main roster thing in 6 seconds because you wanted a reaction.
I'm not going to say the joke. I'm not going to say the joke. I'm not going to say the joke. But you can draw a conclusion here. So it's just one of those things. It's bad optics. It's one thing if Becky Lynch beats her in 20 minutes, or 15, or 10, or even 8, but Bianca's beating the crap out of her and she catches her with a schoolboy. Okay, that's a story. She wins the belt, but Bianca's like, I was beating your ass and you caught me? Sets up a rematch. Maybe the second time around, Becky puts in a little more offense, but still has to kind of surprise win. Then you go into the third outing, maybe at WrestleMania, and Becky's going back and forth. They're like, oh my God, Becky's going to win this. And then it's Bianca that snatches one out of her. That didn't sound right. But you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of ways to do this without making one person look bad and damaging your racial optics. As for Sasha Banks, Marcus, I have a feeling this is a bad situation. She's not cleared. She's gone. They don't know when she's going to be back. It's not a physical medical issue, but she's also, no word on her. So is it psychological? Because if they said it's not physical, then she's not sick. Is she psychologically just done with wrestling? Like, we know that she's had issues with this company for years. And I think she keeps re-signing simply because the paychecks are so heavy. And that's the reason why a lot of people stay in this company. They know they can't make that kind of money elsewhere. No, they can make good livings in Impact and Ring of Honor and New Japan and like All Elite, but you don't know what you're going to get. Let's say Sasha Banks is making $750,000 a year. Maybe All Elite can give you $600,000, but that's still $150,000 less than what you get in WWE. Still great money, but do you walk away from it? Some people can, some people don't want to. Especially someone like Banks, who was living in poverty, and I think she was living in her car at one point. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know about the car situation, but I know it was definitely
a tumultuous experience.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're someone like Sasha Banks, who's lived without money, and you finally have money, and you have the ability to bank a lot of money, you will stay in situations longer than you probably should to ensure that you never have to go back to that life, because it's a pretty jarring experience when you come from nothing and have everything at one point.
Yeah, it's weird because while I feel like Becky might have been on the originally scheduled to actually be at SummerSlam, obviously Lesnar felt more like an ass pull as a response to what happened with Punk.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing they could have did, nothing that happened topped anything that happened with Punk. But
we're not even Punk guys.
Exactly. Because I wonder, like, what was the original plan to involve Becky had there actually been a Sasha and Bianca match? Was they gonna have Sasha beat her and then have Becky come out and do basically what she did to Bianca to Sasha, or were they gonna have her come and interrupt the match and then get the belt? Like, I feel like if it's not something, because I saw COVID floating around and I don't, can't trust anything you read on the Twitter, but I wonder if it came down to booking. Like, I wonder if, because that seems like something like we're gonna have her come in and she's gonna win in 7 seconds regardless of how the match goes or whatever. And Sasha's like, that makes no damn sense. I did all that work to put this other girl over, and y'all gonna have Becky, who cool horsewoman, we tight, we cool and all that, but that makes no sense just to get a reaction.
Are they tight though? Like, that's the thing. Like, fans like to say they're tight, but
yeah,
Bayley and Banks are the only two that I've ever seen together. And I think you're on to something. Now, I saw somewhere, I think it was Meltzer. I could be wrong on who said it, but someone said that Becky wasn't expected back for a few more weeks. And I don't know if that's true, but you might be on to something. She, for all intents and purposes, she was the one booked to win, Banks.
Yeah.
And to take the belt off of Belair at SummerSlam. But maybe Banks knew that she was only going to hold it for a few weeks till Becky showed back up and had a problem with that. That's a very possible. Like, Marcus, your idea of this being an issue with booking might be plausible. I think you're onto something, sir. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the last we saw of Sasha Banks in the WWE. I really wouldn't. With the way they treat people, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because at this stage in the game, obviously, I would imagine Belair felt the way about how all the stuff went down. I mean, she might, who knows, but I would imagine as a champion who, works as hard as she does and wants to represent, losing it like that's going to suck regardless. Because you can't trust where the story is going to go if it's going to go anywhere, specifically when you're about to turn Lynch heel as if that brand needs any more heels. You got Carmella heel, Vega heel, obviously, Banks is a heel. You're going to stack it up with heels. Naomi's supposed to be there, and we haven't seen nothing of her. And trying to see who else. Liv Morgan. She's not showing up either. So you're going to have an imbalance of heels on the show, and it will make more sense for them to turn Bianca at this point because it's like, I did all this goody-goody, and look where they got me. I tried to shake your hand, and they got me screwed. So now I'm going for people's necks. But, again, I wouldn't. Getting back to the Sasha thing, I would imagine if they go to them with this story, the person that's going to talk up is Banks. She has seniority. She's been there the longest, and she's clearly been outspoken for a lot of her career. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Bianca speaks up in that way for herself that a Banks would right now because she's still new booty in a way.
I've seen her say things on social media that makes me think that she probably does. And I think she might be one of those people that, like, if you're in catering and they have fried chicken, you go, hey, Bianca, do you want some fried chicken? And she'll probably go, why? Because I'm black? And I'll be like, no, because that's what they're serving today. I'm sorry. And then she looks at you and goes, what's the fruit selection? And you're just like, I don't want to say. And then you both look over and there's just watermelons. I don't want to say. And you just like start tiptoeing out of catering. It wasn't me. And then somebody comes in with waffles and you're just like, oh my God. And you just run.
And this will be a segment they do. I'm not trying to say anything racist. I just thought that, you being the EST, that you might have been the hungriest. Like it's
that would be awful, and I want to see it. Jeez. But yeah, Bianca doesn't strike me as someone who's passive, if I may say so. I'm sure if she's not happy about something, she'll speak up. So speaking of things that are interesting, apparently NXT is ending its relationship with Full Sail. Not too surprising, but yet here we are. Dave Meltzer is reporting that the WWE Performance Center, known as the Capitol Wrestling Center, will be undergoing upgrades over the next month to make it the long-term home of NXT. So they're going to be moving everything in-house, I guess. Fair enough. Meltzer reports that the reason the NXT is taping 3 weeks' worth of television following TakeOver 36 on Sunday is due to the upgrades the company is making to the Performance Center over the next few weeks, including but not yet limited to more lights and colors and the removal of the plexiglass around the ringside. Dave Meltzer goes on to elaborate what the changes mean for Black and Gold brand as we advance. From a creative standpoint, the show is supposed to give wrestling students and prospects more television time and less time to be experienced veterans and strong workers, which is a seismic shift in the goal of attempting to present the best wrestling show possible to being a developmental television show. That is the doctrine, but how it plays out remains to be seen. But they do not want the concept to be closer to the 2015 version of NXT, but they do want, not do not. So, Marcus, I'm actually in favor of this in a lot of ways, but not in a lot of ways. The idea of making NXT the developmental brand makes all the sense in the world because there's such a rich, reusable tap on that idea. Drafts. Yeah. You can do scouting shows. You can do entire segments talking about prospects in NXT. And then when the draft rolls around once a year, you incorporate them into the product. Makes all the sense in the world to me. But then again, I'm intelligent, and clearly Vince McMahon is not. The problem I have is they're all going to be basically having the same fucking bodybuilder type. And we're going to talk about Nick Khan here in a second, because goddamn. And I think the goal for them as a company, because you're seeing more and more of it, is for them to recruit more quote-unquote real athletes, your gymnasts, your volleyball players, your basketball players. Like, how many people on that main roster are former athletes? Baron Corbin, Omos was a basketball player for UCF, I think.
Hell, Reigns.
Reigns. He was a defensive tackle, I think, for Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Goldberg was Georgia and Atlanta Falcons player, and Panthers, I think, for a second. Like John Cena was a football player. He played like Division 2 or 3, but still. So like, yeah, they're gonna be looking for more athletes. Bianca Belair was a power lifter. Alexa Bliss is a gymnast and cheerleader. Sonya Deville kind of was an MMA fighter. Shayna Baszler, MMA fighter. So like, they're clearly going into that realm. They're probably not going to do a lot more with the indies anymore, which is actually good for the indies because they'll be able to see guys get marketed, come back around, go to other promotions, build their name up, come back through their system again, raise the profile, and go forward. It's like there's a lot of benefits with them making their own stars, and I'm fine with that, actually. I don't know why a lot of people aren't, but I also think fans need to realize that the WWE knows that they kind of lost. Whatever war they were having with AEW, this is their ultimate decree of retreat. Defeat. Shane McMahon's going to carry a white flag into Tallahassee here in the next few weeks and sign the Declaration of Defeat. Right next to the French dude from The Patriot. And probably Mel Gibson, just because. I don't know. Because he was in The Patriot. Just the French.
Or that goofy baguette dude that Frenchie had to kill in his hometown. In the comic.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was rough. But that's kind of one of those things where, like, when you look at this is what it is. Like, they realize that their whole new model from 2014 and on failed. Now, it wasn't the stars they developed or signed or brought in that failed. It was the booking. We all know that. Yeah. But they're passing the buck. And they're decreeing, hey, we lost. Now we got to do things different. I don't know what they expect is going to happen because we keep saying it doesn't matter the changes they make on television. Paul Heyman, Eric Bischoff, 3-hour Raw, 2-hour SmackDown, 14-hour NXT. It doesn't matter. You could have, 1,000 NXT shows with all the, Fight Forevers is all you want. It ultimately doesn't mean anything because at the top of the food chain is still Vince McMahon, and he's the problem. It doesn't matter what you do. You can have Karrion Kross be Killer Kross or Chris Cross or hey ho. He could teach him the knuckle puck. I don't give a fuck. That wasn't supposed to rhyme, but it did. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do with Cross because he's still going to be besieged by Vince McMahon's opinions, and Vince's opinions suck. Vince McMahon is not the stalwart of pro wrestling that everyone thinks he is. One, it's not even pro wrestling. You might be offended that CM Punk said so, but Vince McMahon himself said that he's not in the pro wrestling game. He's in the sports entertainment game. But people need to realize that outside of the boom of the 80s, which was directed by Hulk Hogan, not, solely Hulk Hogan. Vince did, steer that sacred cow until slaughter. And Stone Cold in the late 90s, Vince McMahon has never had a pro wrestling promotion that trended upwards. Vince McMahon is living off of about 9 years of legitimacy. Now, he's turned into a profitable company, but that's because I think he's a good businessman. When you don't pay your employees anything and you overcharge your fans, yeah, you're going to make money. But when you think about the actual moments and the eras of wrestling, Vince has done shit outside of riding the coattails of two guys that he lucked into. Because keep in mind, he fired Hulk Hogan once before. He got over in the AWA, got himself on Rocky 3, and then Vince's like, oh, you got mainstream appeal, I want you back. And Stone Cold was floundering in the gimmicks that he was being given in WWE. So it's like, this dude's a genius for what?
Yeah, and then those two big stars, like you said, that he rode the coattails of, got buys, and they basically became bigger than the company, which utterly pissed him off because Stone Cold flipped him off and left, and The Rock saw bigger for himself. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, they've cut their nose off to spite their face every time where anybody in that company could have even sniffed mainstream appeal.
And like that's kind of the thing I kind of want people to realize. Think about how big John Cena was. And then ask yourself, how big could he have been? Because that's kind of the thing no one's really talking about. John Cena was a big star for that promotion. But he was so mishandled, mismanaged, and treated poorly by bad booking. And granted, maybe some people don't think it was bad booking, but when you realize what he could have done, could have been, and could have achieved, yeah, it was bad booking. He could have been huge, huge, but he was only ever given the same one-note feud, and fans grew tired of it. If you didn't try to make him so divisive and made him such a clown and caricature, he could have kept the entire audience, not just a part of it. But Vince doesn't know what he's doing. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it time and time again. Goodbye, so long, sweet prince. NXT is done. Soul might be their top star, baby. Baby. Marcus, Mr. Bebe. Adam Cole. Apparently done with the double E. According to Fightful Select,